Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatare Satarade. I also want to express my deep appreciation for this incredible festival. We were here for the 25th anniversary, and that was wonderful, and this is even more wonderful. I'm sure it'll get better and better and better. Thank you so much. We actually came to Bombay, Vishaka Devi and myself, after touring with Srila Prabhupada for some months. We arrived, I think, sometime in 1971, not sure the date, but we served here for about 1.5 to 2 years, and we were both photographers. I graduated in photography school. Vishaka was also there, photography school. And while we were serving in India, we always were thinking when are we going to use our talents in Krishna's service? So we were taking films and video and still photographs. There was no video cameras then, and sending them back to Karanda Prabhu at the BBT. So he thought at one point, after those articles, the photographs were printed in BTG and the films were distributed in, uncut, no editing. So he thought at one point, let's have a film on the movement, Hare Krishna movement. So he asked Prabhupada if we could make a film on the movement. And Prabhupada said yes. He actually very kindly he funded that first movie called The Hare Krishna People. And that was the beginning of our filmmaking. Starting films here at Hare Krishna Land, actually, and sending them back to the United States. We produced a few, about 8 documentaries. One of them was A Spark of Life. And that was in 1977 that we came back to Mumbai. Prabhupada was in the top floor of the palace, of the guest house. And I had not been to the Mayapur festival that year. So I went in to pay obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. I paid obeisances, and as I was saying the mantra, he said, you should come and go more often. So I took that to mean to travel more, to take more films, make more movies, basically. And then we showed that Spark of Life film to Prabhupada. Also, the Bhaktivedanta Institute at that time commissioned that film. They wanted a film to show how life comes from life and not matter. They wanted to defeat the material scientists with this presentation. So their idea was to argue against their theories. But we thought if we did that, the film would become outdated because their theories always change. So we decided to base the film on Bhagavad Gita. So we arrived with that film, or actually I arrived, you weren't there. We showed that film in Prabhupada's bedroom, actually. He was quite ill at the time. So members of the Bhaktivedanta Institute were present, and we showed the film, and there was dead silence after the film stopped. Tamal Krishna Goswami was the first person to speak up. He said, Yadubara, this is a big departure from your other films, because it had no devotees in it, no tilak, no saris, no dhoti, no devotees. But it was a conversation between 2 college students on a college campus discussing the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. So another person spoke up. Prabhupada was silent, and he said quite a devastating comment. He said, this film is for women and children. Dead silence again. And another person, everyone was disappointed, basically. So it came time for Prabhupada to say something. Everybody was looking at Prabhupada finally. And he asked me, what is the result of showing this film? And we had showed it to a Sunday feast audience in Los Angeles. I told Prabhupada that before I came. And I said, Prabhupada, one guest came up to me afterwards and he said, "Thank you very much. Now I can understand I'm not the body." When Prabhupada heard that, he said, "Then it is success." And actually the film it turned out, the film went all over India. It was viewed widely. The Bhaktivedanta Institute members appreciated it in the end because it had the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Had we done the other thing, it would have been outdated. So that was just a remembrance about that particular film. We have many remembrances of the other films that were made under Prabhupada's direction. But we'd like to pass now on to Vishaka Devi.
Om Ganatamarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Once Prabhupada was here in India, sitting with a few of his disciples, when he was challenged by an Indian man. This Indian man had the conception that a saintly person should have the ability to do miracles. Because there was a so-called saintly person who was very famous, who could produce ash from his hand and other things. So this person said to Prabhupada, "Can you show me a miracle?" And Prabhupada indicated his disciples, his followers, and he said, "These are my miracles." Hare Krishna. So in reflecting on that little exchange, it's really true that we are his miracles because he changed everything about our lives. He changed our dress, our diet, he changed our daily schedule. These are external things. And besides that, he changed our whole mental orientation. What we were thinking about, our goals, our desires, all these things were altered by this one personality. So instead of wanting material acquisitions, we could see that this was a fallacious goal, or these are fallacious goals, to want more money, more comfort, more opulence, more fame, more beauty. These things go through your fingers. Whereas to want to try to develop love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, love for his devotees, love for his service, this has genuine meaning and can actually fulfill the desire of the heart. So this is extraordinary that one person can enter a life, or so many lives, of people from all walks of life. We heard this morning from Haridas Prabhu. That's one walk of life. Sarup Damodar Maharaj is another walk of life. PhD. So this entire gamut of society, from children to old people, Prabhupada was able to touch them in such a way that even if they were slightly receptive, in my case, not even slightly receptive, he was able to transform their lives and perform this miracle. So how he did that is truly fascinating. It's quite a study to understand how he did that. And we can say first and foremost that he himself was that Vaikuntha man. So he became what he called like a touchstone. If we have a touchstone, whatever you touch, you can turn into gold. So because he himself was of that caliber, therefore he could affect so many people. So we have all these anecdotes, and Prabhupada is much more than a combination of anecdotes. I love anecdotes, but he is much more than an accumulation of anecdotes. He is the embodiment of Krishna consciousness. And by coming in contact with him with some degree of sincerity, we can also access Krishna consciousness. It's an incredible opportunity. So reflecting on Mumbai, Juhu, Hare Krishna land, there's been so much talk in the past 3 days about the austerity. So, having been here from the time the deities, Sri Sri Radharasa Bihari, moved from Akashganga to Hare Krishna land, I can say for myself that it never occurred to me that it was austere. Hare Krishna. Who was speaking? Oh, Anada Prabhu was speaking, how she didn't like camping out. I love camping out. She didn't like pulling up the bucket from the well. For me, that was an adventure. You know, so many different personalities. So, the accommodations for the ladies and the men were not, I thought I could do better, so I moved to the rooftop of one of the tenant buildings, and I set up my mosquito net there. Part of it was tied to a coconut tree that was just beyond the wall. And somehow the other 3 corners were tied. And then I'd bring up a bucket of water, and there was a drain on the rooftop, because when it rained, the rainwater had to drain out. So I'd bathe up there, and I thought it was wonderful. You have the sea breezes, you have the warm weather, lots of association, the deities were there. It never occurred to me that this is austere. And I did get ill. I got jaundice at one point, but I get ill in the West too. It's not that you're in the West and you don't get ill. So I felt privileged to be there, and I wouldn't mind spending more time there. Especially because Srila Prabhupada himself spent so much time in Mumbai. And he very much enjoyed the rooftops. He spent the afternoons on the rooftop having darshan. There was one incident, I was a photographer, otherwise known as a photographer. And so I was constantly with him as much as I could be photographing. The beaches for the morning walks were incredible, and the afternoons on the rooftop were equally incredible. So one afternoon he went to the rooftop for darshan and was relaxing there. And I guess I was a little early. I was the only other person there at that time. So I sat just below his dais with my camera, and he looked at me and he said, "Where should I look?" See, all of you got it. I didn't understand what he was talking about, because I had been photographing him for 2 years and he never said that before. So then it took me a few moments to think, oh, where should he look so I can take the picture? So then I had to think of an answer. It took a few more moments. So I said, "Wherever you like, Srila Prabhupada." So he turned to his right, and I took a photograph, which is well known by some devotees. That was one small incident. Another incident, I was waiting for him to go on the walk. It was about 6 o'clock. He would go from 6 to 7, and then 7 was greeting the deities. And at 6 it was still a little dark outside. So I was just chanting my japa, sitting just like this, just chanting on the pathway, waiting. And he passed by very, very quietly. I didn't hear him coming at all. And he was just inches away. He walked by me, and he looked at me and he said, "Thank you very much." And I thought, what is he thanking me for? I'm just sitting here. And then I thought, no, I'm chanting japa. So Prabhupada appreciated that we're following his instructions, even the most basic positive instruction. He appreciated that, and he was aware of that, and he encouraged that. And that encouragement was so valuable, it propelled us on. Even though there might be distractions, there might be appeals from Maya Devi, because of his encouragement and his guidance and his example, we could try to carry on to please him. So, just a few memories. I'll pass the mic on. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
There's just a few more small memories also. When we were living in Akashganga, Prabhupada was our president, the temple commander. He was everything. We would chant japa with Srila Prabhupada in the morning. And I remember one morning coming back from a walk. He came back and we were all taking breakfast prasadam. He looked at all of us and he said, "You're all overeating." We were very attached to prasad in those days. As we heard before, someone was saying, Prabhupada wanted to at least satisfy our tongues. Another time that Srila Prabhupada was driven by one lady who volunteered to take him on his morning walks, especially to the Worli sea face. And that morning, this lady said, "Prabhupada, I have a very good investment. I recommend this highly. You'll make lots of money." And she said, "Then you won't have to send your students out for begging," something like that. So Prabhupada looked at her and he said, "I want them to beg. This is part of their training. Not that everything comes easily, but I want them to sacrifice, to work hard." And I think we've all experienced when we actually do that, then it's very fulfilling for our spiritual life. You know, to sacrifice, to really make some effort. I can say for this past film that we made was a tremendous effort. I'm not sure if I want to do that again. It was so difficult. But we can't give up trying. That's our mood. One time coming back from a morning walk, Srila Prabhupada passed some beggars, and he asked for some coins to give to the beggars. That was unusual. We were very surprised to see Prabhupada donating to the beggars. Did you say anything about
that? In the occasion I had, we were in a car, in one of these ambassador cars. There were three of us in the back, and Prabhupada was in the front passenger seat. And a woman, a beggar, came by holding a child, and there was another child by her side at Prabhupada's window, begging. So he looked back to the three of us and he said, "Do you have any paisa?" So we had a few paisa, we gave it to Prabhupada. He rolled down his window and gave it to the beggar's lady and her children. And so I had read in Bhagavad Gita about charity and the mode of ignorance, so I was very confused about this. So I said, "Prabhupada, why do we give Krishna's money to beggars?" And there was silence. And he had to have heard me. I was sitting right behind him, right? So I thought, oh my goodness, I made an offense. And then I said, "Is it prasad?" And he said, "Yes."
I think Malati Devi had the same experience in Kumbh Mela with Prabhupada. One other incident at the Akashganga building, one day the deities arrived and we were very excited, but actually we got notice that we cannot take the deities in the boxes upstairs to the 7th floor because the landlord is absolutely sure that we're smuggling drugs in the box. So he was present when those boxes arrived. I remember we had to open the boxes right on the sidewalk. And you know, the top pieces came off, and then the packing came off, and then we saw the beautiful form of Srimati Radharani underneath. And after that, after he saw that, he just left. He was deflated, defeated. Another incident, we were in, Srila Prabhupada was staying at the home of Mr. Acharya on the Hare Krishna land. My father actually came to visit me and met Mr. Acharya and, you know, saw the whole scene. He was quite horrified at the, conditions. But he really liked Mr. Acharya. They were good buddies. They became good friends. So I was in the bedroom with Srila Prabhupada's bedroom, along with him, And a man walked in, and he paid full dandavats, and he started glorifying Srila Prabhupada. You've done so much, you're a worldwide acharya, you've written so many books, all glories to you, and he wouldn't stop. He just kept going on and on and on. And finally Prabhupada said, "You become like me." And he pointed, he said, "You become like me." And the man was shocked, he was speechless, and I was also shocked. How do we become like Prabhupada? But that's the whole purpose of the process of Krishna consciousness, to become pure, to become like Prabhupada. This same idea was being shared last night. So it's not easy. You know, we're all in these bodies, you know, trapped within these bodies, intended for the purpose of sense gratification. That's why we're here. So it's not an easy task. That's another austerity we have to go through to become devotees ourselves. That's great sound. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.